Hey guys, this is your inspirational nurse _RN Tierra come to you live with another great video. Hello, all my new family members. Welcome back to the inspirational community. This is your RN Tierra come to you live. I know I've been posting a lot of new great things that's been happening. God's favor is just been so unreal. I've been been losing family members all this week. I lost over 5 family members that just passed away. And then patients on this assignment, which I just ended my travel assignment the other day. It was a lot, and it's just been so many emotions and just battles that is unseen. But I wanted to do a viewer's choice video today. Someone emailed me and asked me to discuss how the transition from bedside to unit manager. So I have been a unit manager in the past, so I think that I should just give my opinion, and y'all already know I'm gonna give y'all the tea and the tips. You guys stay watching. Thank you so much, and check out the Inspirational Find shop. I designed it for all healthcare providers, all heroes. I will be adding more things as the shop goes along, whatever's trending, whatever I think is really nice, and luxury accessories, because I'm all about your accessories. I like a little sparkle here and there. A good badge rail, it's a good tote, a good shirt. I like wearing t-shirts on the weekend. And so I thought of all of you guys to create a shop where, if you can't shop all the time because you in the bed sleep like a nurse, like as we do, especially if you work night shift, it gives you a easy access to being able to shop online and get it shipped to you guys, and which I handpicked every item. So I hope you guys enjoy what you see. Please support. So let's get started. So number one, let's just talk about transitioning from bedside to management, right? For those who had that experience in the past, kudos to you. I have had that experience in 2 to 3 different roles. I actually was a DON, which is Director of Nursing. I was a unit manager. I was infection control, all of that tied in. I had like 3 jobs, y'all. And I was the ADON, which is Assistant Director of Nursing. So I was 3 different things in management. And so I can tell you how that goes. Now, transitioning, the first tip I will tell you when you're transitioning from bedside to management is to get you some affirmations or something that gives your mind, get it transitioning over from bedside to you're not the one on the floor, but you're the one behind the desk. It is very hard when you've been working by the bedside for years and now you're trying to transition into management, not to have that urge to want to get up and do everything. Because let me tell you, you will start to drown, and you will start to spend hours and hours at work not getting anything done and not being able to produce good work because you are constantly playing 2 roles. So as a unit manager, that role to me is more focused. It's more on the unit. So for instance, I was a unit manager on the skill unit, which means I was responsible for overseeing that unit only, which I feel like when you're starting out in management, it's easy to jump into like these roles before you start going up to ADON and DON. It just depends on your preferences. You might be ready to jump on that boat, but I think it's smart to start some baby steps. And when you're a unit manager, you will learn how to operate that unit. Now, these positions usually seen in nursing homes, long-term care facilities. Actually, I was the unit manager over both. So I was over skill and the lock unit, which we have dementia patients, which I loved, y'all. I loved it. And so my role was pretty not so bad, guys, because I was just focused on the skilled nursing unit. But you got to keep in mind, you're overseeing every admission. You're overseeing, making sure that the nurses are communicating with the doctors. You're staying on top of if there's a change of condition on your unit. You're on top of discharges, getting those beds available for those who's trying to be admitted to your long-term care facility. Now, that's a lot of moving parts. So it just depends on which unit you will be managing that will influence how your experience play out, right? So everybody knows the skilled nursing unit is the money maker in any nursing home. It is where your hospital patients go. So that unit must be on point. So your duty is to oversee these nurses, making sure that everybody's getting their trays on time, making sure they're getting their meds on time. You're going through any customer service issues. You're calling the hospital. You're calling family just to update them, let them know the patient arrived. You're greeting a meeting. There's a lot of things as a unit manager that you do. So your goal is to impact your team, encourage your team to be at their best on your skilled nursing unit. Now, when you're looking for a job, I would suggest when you start looking to manage somewhere, look at their ratings. Look at if they're 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star. Now, y'all know when y'all go checking into them hotels, let's just use that for an example. Y'all be looking at them stars. Y'all be like, boo, I'm not staying past no 3 stars. Now, in the past, y'all, it depends on what you can afford, right? But as you move it up the ladder from bedside to management, your management, wherever you're going to be managing that, it must match a lot of things about you. First of all, your personality, the things you believe in, your values, your morals. Their mission must match your mission. So if their mission is to be honest and all these different things, you need to represent that, right? Now, we know that there's so many things behind the scenes that go on when you are managing. There's a lot of politics in there. You need to look at the structure of the business. Who influences staffing? So can you hire on your unit? Can you fire on your unit? If that control is not in your hands and is in the ADON hands or the DON hands, that means that can influence how you're thinking you're going to be able to manage this unit, if that makes sense, when you are new to management. Now, no one teaches you this. You might come onto a management job and they're just going to expect. If you do not speak up and you do not say, hey, this is my first time, da, 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 blah, blah, blah. You need to be able to open your mouth and speak up about your experience, where you stand, what you're willing to tolerate. You start with your nose. Now, sometimes you never know. You might end up somewhere that is not the best facility in the area, but the position matches you. It matches everything. You're excited to be there. The team took on to you. That's another tip, right? As a unit manager, you're in charge of those nurses and CNAs on that unit. You need to make sure you and your team be able to get along. So if you have kind of like a strong personality or you're really, really quiet, you kind of make a little bit of adjustments, right, to be able to communicate with your team. When you give an order, you say, hey, I need you to go check in room 5. They go and check in room 5, right? And they're not looking at you funny, like, who's this girl telling me what to do? Things that might influence you being a great unit manager is your energy, your age. Unfortunately, I've been told for years, and didn't even know that my age was an issue for a lot of these companies or people that was above me or in management that was getting a little nervous about me coming around because sis knew what she was talking about. So to me, I don't judge people based on age. I met people who 19 years old that can do some things, honey, that got wisdom, that dropping gems. And I meet people that's older that don't, just sitting there looking clueless. So I don't judge people based off those things, but let's be real. In real life, sometimes that happens. Sometimes they looking at you and they like, oh, look at this girl. She looking, she all ass. She driving her Mercedes. She pulling up every day. And so they looking at you, right? So when you're starting in management, the first week, they're going to bring you onto the building. They're going to introduce you to everybody and let you meet and greet everybody on your team, management team, who you're going to be working with, social worker, everybody up in there. That is your chance to say, hey, make a good impression. I will suggest. That is not a good day to be wearing your Gucci bag, Gucci day. You put some scrubs on, put something on like neutral colors, and you just coming in. You're coming in. That's that first impression, right? First impression is everything, right? Anytime you come into a new facility. Now, you may get eyes rolled at. Like, we had an administrator, no lie, guys. Soon as she started, they were rolling their eyes at her. They were like, sis, we not, because she came in there strong, sis. Came in there with long nails, and people were looking at her like, the nurses was very disrespectful. And I was like, what are y'all doing? Why y'all being disrespectful? That is your administrator. I respect everybody, no matter what. We all come from all walks of life, and we all don't know. We all just trying to get to that bag. We all trying to pay our bills. But, unfortunately, when you're managing, your team can determine how your outcome goes, like whether you're going to make it in management or not. Some people get into management and think they have a lot of power, and sometimes they don't have a lot of power. If you don't look at how the business is structured, who makes what decisions is going to be your questions when you're interviewing. You needed to see, how is the structure? Do they believe in this? Because if the business doesn't believe in their management team, that's a red flag. 2, if you're seeing a lot of rotations of management, so you see every week there's a new administrator, every week there's a new DON, every week there's a new ADO, and every week there's another unit manager, that is a red flag. That is a big red flag. Why are all these professionals that went to school, studied their butt off, is qualified, got the job, and they're out the door within weeks? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. But as a unit manager, your job is to operate that unit. I had both units, guys. I remember helping coming up with a program because my people that were in the lock unit, my patients, they were losing weight. And I was like, okay, so I forgot the name of it, but it's a program that you have to chart every 6 weeks. You have to get your CNAs involved, your nurses involved to make sure they're putting the right weights in, make sure they we're taking the patients out of the locker room unit and walking them to the dining room, and we'll set up the table. I forgot, somebody in manager know what I'm talking about. You set up the table and have them sit there and eat, and you're cueing them on making sure they're chewing their food, making sure they're using their forks and spoons, and you're watching them eat, and you're charting their if they're doing well or not, and then you're discussing this with the dietitian and all this stuff, their weights, if they're going up, which all my weights were starting to go up because I love to eat myself. So when I take them to the dining room, I would do like a choo-choo train with all my lock unit folks, all my dementia patients. I'm like, come on, choo-choo train over here. Every lunchtime, I love to participate in that. Even though I was the ADON and unit manager, which made it very hard. And I remember telling them that having those two roles is extremely hard because I didn't know how to separate the two. Now I'm focused, but then I'm overseeing things. How can I be a good ADON? Because ADON responsibilities is a lot more. You are infection control. You overseeing. You assisting the DON. You're helping with the hiring. You're helping with a whole lot more than as a unit manager. Is more focused on that unit. If you're the unit manager, all you're doing is that unit. You're making sure that unit for the 8 hours is running, making sure you have supplies, making sure you getting people if they need to go out to send to the hospital, 911, making sure you know every incident that took place on that unit. Make sure that everything is in place because you might have students that come on that unit as well, right? So you want to be able to treat your nurses right. Make sure they get snacks and they take breaks and they, maybe bring a coffee maker and give out coffee for them. Look out for your team. If they're supposed to be working with you, look out for them because they will look out for you, right? But if you get there and there's too many red flags where your license is at risk, because management, your license be at risk, honey. You be coming into some things, you be starting some things, you be like, they did what here? And so you get at the job, then you hearing that, you like, I got to get out of here. This is not for me. And that's okay because your license is the number one priority in this business, right? That's okay. So again, unit manager is more focused. You're focused on that unit. Your job is the operation of that unit. You also participate in all meetings. You also are there in the morning meeting, afternoon. I remember we had 2 meetings, which was the morning meeting, and then after the day was done, we discussed things that we didn't get done, things we got to wait for tomorrow to get done, or whatever was going on during the day. And you're going to be meeting with the DON, the ADON, maybe the administrator, maybe social work, but you're definitely going to be meeting with people. So watch your professionalism, watch your attire, how you're representing yourself. And like I said, it takes time. If the company believes in you when they hire you and they look, they give you free range to get it together, to develop, to grow. That's a good place to be. Some people find their niche where they I found my place where I want to manage. And they've been there for years managing. And some people been I've been there for 2 days and I'm out. That's okay too, because maybe there's something there that they saw or they witnessed and they that is not, I don't think, I want my name on that, but that's okay. So unit manager, that is going to be your duties. Your pay is probably going to be definitely a little bit different from your bedside. You got to make sure when you're managing and you're trying to transition that you have to remind yourself you are a delegator now. You're not the one moving because as nurses, we be doing stuff in our sleep. We be answering call bells in our sleep and everything. But as a manager now, you leveled up. So you have to learn how to delegate. I think I did a video on delegation because I was getting my BSN and we had to put it on our YouTube and all that. So that video wasn't something that is more personal that I put out, but it is on there. But you have to know how to do that. You have to know how to delegate. You have to know how to verbally communicate where your message is getting across and it's not getting across as something else. So you have to be a big communicator if you're going to be a unit manager. You have to be able to record keep, making sure that you're keeping up with your MARs and TARs and making sure your med room is up to par, right? Making sure you're making sure at least know all your antibiotics that's going to be running that morning. If you're on any time-sensitive meds, if patients on time-sensitive medications, you should know all the things like that that take priority, and you should be checking behind your nurses. While they're talking, good morning, or all that extraness, you need to be checking their work. You don't even got to say, I'm checking your work. You need to just be checking. And I'm good for that. While people be talking to me in bedside report, and they like, oh, yeah, da, 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 da. I'll be checking lines, honey. I'm quick. Pull sheets back. It's just something in my habit. But as a manager, you want your team to be able to you want to be approachable, right? Where they be able to come to you and say, look, I need help. I'm struggling. Like when I got to the job, y'all, all the team was coming to me like, hey, look, y'all, we need help with getting certified. We're not certified. Hey, we really want you to help us with this. I've really been trying to work on that, and I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. But as a manager, you don't want to make sure when you're transitioning, you're not putting too much on your plate, or you feel like in your head, like, oh, I got to help her on the floor. I got to help these nurses. I got to pass these pills. Then I got to be at this meeting, because now you're not able to transition well. You're not separating the two. You're in a different role now. So you have to act like a manager if you want to be respected like a manager, which means delegate. Take accountability. You hold people accountable. That is your job as a manager. If you cannot do that and you're scared to hold people accountable and you like, oh, I don't know, because you're not a nurse on the floor anymore. So you need to act like a boss. Doesn't mean you be a boss, but you need to know how to act like a boss now. Like I said, it takes time, but mentally you have to remind yourself every day, maybe get you a little coffee mug and say, I am a boss today. Something to remind you of where you're at in nursing, not bedside. Now, there is times where I helped on the floor because they will ask you, hey, can you work the floor? Especially if you're ADON. They did that a whole lot. And then that's one red flag that I didn't like, was like constantly asking me, hey, can you work on the floor today? Can you work on the floor today? And then you start working the floor every day on top of it, and then expecting you to do your work. I'm like, oh no, honey. If I did not sign up to be working bedside, I signed up to be a manager. So if this is the type of facility that don't have the staff to keep management in behind their desk so they could get their work done, right? Now I heard somebody said that they've been there for over 10 hours, I forgot how many hours this girl said she was there. I was like, excuse me? Like she was there for a day or two or something like that, she was saying. I was like, that's illegal. But she felt like, because the staff was so low, she felt like she always had to help people on the floor and try to do her job. And it was too much. Long-term care is a different beast, y'all. Y'all got way more patience, way more task-oriented. That is not the time for you to be like, oh, well, I'm coming, let me get on the floor. And then trying to impress people because you can work the floor. They knew you could work the floor. They want to see your management skills. Where's your management skills at? Now, I wish in nursing school they talk about management and leadership more, supervising more, and charge nurses more, because we didn't get all of that. Now you're out there in the world as a nurse, and you're like, ugh, you come across all these issues, and people thinking sometimes it's you. It ain't you. It's some of these jobs that ain't up to par, right? They're not running right. I remember asking about the mission. I'm bringing back, when I started management, I'm like, what is y'all mission here? Because we need to bring that back, because I'm not seeing that. Right? So let's bring back the awarding the employees every month. Let's bring back little things that y'all did that made y'all special as a company, right? That people trust. Again, sometimes too in management, there's so much to catch up on. Literally, you're catching up on your training. You're catching up on just being a new manager, period. You're catching up on trying to get a routine. You're catching up on just transitioning. That is so much mentally. By the time you get home, you're mentally done. You're drained. You have no room for nothing else, right? And then you're dealing with worrying about expectations that staff have on you and all this stuff. It's all right. Everybody ain't going to click with you. Everybody ain't going, who likes their boss all the time? Nobody really liked their boss all the time. I remember when my old hospital thought I wanted to be a management. I was like, I didn't even no, didn't like it. Didn't want to do that at the time. Just love bedside. That's my passion. And I felt like when I was ready to transition, I transitioned. Do it scared. That's my biggest tip. Anything you're trying to do in this life, period, do it scared. If something that scares you the most, do it. Because that's the thing that you're going to excel in, because you're doing it scared. Your anxiety is times 10. You're like, oh, I don't want to mess up. Oh, I want to get it right. Oh, let me do some research. You're going to do it scared, which helps you because you're taking a risk. Risk pays off most of the time, right? Some risk is worth it. So you have to put yourself out there in order for you to start experiencing things as management, for you to go, you know what? I want to work for corporate operation. I want to work for this type of business. I want to work for a nonprofit instead. I want to work for, it's different types of businesses out there. So if it's structured a certain way, it might match you. But if you work in somewhere, you can tell if that business structure is not for you or doesn't match what you're trying to do or how you're trying to manage, right? Or you can always open up your own business. If you oh, I'm a boss girl, I mean, open up a business, you know, get your LLC started, at least get your documents ordered, get your accountant, get your lawyers in order and stuff. So when God opens those doors, y'all, because I'm a boss girl. I had a business back then. I had a daycare. I had in my house. I opened in 6 months. My husband went to Iraq, came back, was like, what in the world? I don't move, y'all. I don't got the chief of the person to come in because I did it on base. I did it on a military installation. And I did it for the people because they didn't have no child. Soldiers was over there struggling with child care. They have to be at PT 5 in the morning, come back home, go back to work. And I said, God, let me be able to help them people. And I did. I opened up 5 o'clock in the morning and then closed till late. And I had all the cute babies and all that stuff and had all the setups and everything, documents in order. And I'm a beast when it comes to business because that's what I love. I love the freedom of being a boss. But you got to know yourself. You got to know yourself. Maybe you want to find some way that's a little more structured. Maybe you want to find some way that's a little bit more laid back and the management is not so on top of you where you can grow and learn and develop. And, you know, because nurses out there, I met some amazing nurses. I met some nurses that went out there and now they're bosses of their own business. And I'm proud of every last one of y'all who's on here trying to do your own business. I'm proud of you because I know how hard that is to put yourself out there, to put your name, your brand, It is not easy. So I hope this video was super easy, y'all. As a nurse manager, Matt, let me just say this. The job I was at, requirement was just for you to have your ADN degree, your associate's degree from a, regular school, RN. And then they wanted you, you can move up if you want, but it wasn't a requirement. And wasn't that many requirements. So for this state. Now, your state might be different where they have less requirements or more requirements. It just depends on where you're at. But that was the requirements. And that fell in my lap with just me being at it's like, as soon as I showed up to this nursing home, like all the management jobs fell on me. Like, we want you to do this, do this, do this, do this. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. I signed to be ADON. So again, that is my experience. I'm sticking to it. Hopefully this helped. I'm shouting out the one who asked me to do this. I'm definitely sharing the love. If you got other topics you want to talk about, let's do it. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to go Inspirational Find, which is a shop online for all healthcare heroes. I don't care what you do. X-ray tech, EMT, whatever. Get up on there and check it out and support. Please, please, please support. And I'll see you guys on the next one.